If you are new to book folding, you probably have a gazillion questions. I know I did when I first started doing book folding, which was a number of years ago. I thought I would put together a quick video for you to answer some of the most frequently asked questions. If you have any other questions, please comment below, and I may do another one if you have additional questions. Hi, welcome to my channel, Crafted Sweetly. Thanks so much for being here. If you enjoy book folding, I do a lot. I kind of try and do different patterns, different designs. And if you are interested in doing book folding, I have a ton of videos. Well, maybe not a ton, but I have a bunch of videos with different kinds of designs that I've done. Shadow folds, combi folds, just measure, mark and fold, cut and fold, that kind of thing. So be sure to check out the other videos on my channel for other book folding videos. But in this one, I'm just going to address 10 different frequently asked questions that I often see online about book folding. Number one, is it a leaf or is it a page? Like, what's the difference between these two things? This is a leaf right here. This is a leaf. These are 2 pages. So page 1 and page 2. One leaf consists of 2 pages. If your pattern is listed as 1, 2, 3, 4, then you need to double the number of pages you're actually gonna need, because you obviously can't fold page 1 and page 2 different ways, so you need to have twice the number of pages. If your pattern is like this, 1, 3, 5, and 7, then that's the number of pages you need, whatever's at the end of your pattern. Number 2, when you do a 180 fold, how far back should I fold a page? Totally up to you. There's no right or wrong with this. And you can experiment and you're gonna get different designs, you know, the different looks to your book depending on how far you fold back. I use this, which is part of a hanging folder. It's the metal piece. And I like this because it's almost scores it as I fold this. So it's gonna be right there. I do it right along. It gives it a nice, almost like scoring. You can kind of see the scoring right there. And then I do go back over it with a bone folder, which is this. And in the description box below, I do have links to the various videos on my channel regarding the book folding, tools that I've used for book folding. You obviously don't need this. You can probably use a credit card or anything, you know, with a nice edge to it to give you that sharp look. So there's the 180 fold. Now, if you want to fold up to the writing, you can certainly do that. I've done books like that. What if the writing is not even? That's gonna make it a little tougher. As long as you do an even depth fold, then you're fine. Another common folding tool is the plastic slide rule that you see on reports. Like you can kind of slide it over and then mark it, slide it a little bit, and then do the same thing. I just like this metal one because it seems to work for me. Number 3, when you have a pattern with an inset or a skip page, do you fold back or leave it? So this is a pattern that I did, and I do have links to all these patterns on my Facebook group. So if you wanna, and the link to the group is in the description box, you wanna get these patterns, you can over there. But if it says skip and you're doing a 180 fold, then you're obviously just gonna fold it and leave it. There's no marking on this page. If you're not doing a 180 fold, again, you're just gonna skip this page. Can you use the text to guide how far you cut? So that comes to the question, you know, sort of, if you're not doing a 180 fold and you're going to cut, can you use the text to cut it back? So for something like this, you can if you're doing a pattern where this is gonna be inset. If this part is sticking out, so it's an outie design kind of, I think this is just too long for it to be sticking out. So it depends on the pattern if I use this. I've stopped doing this just because it's not necessarily consistent or as even. So what I do is I will take a Sharpie marker and mark, well, this is not a Sharpie, but I don't have one handy at the moment. So I will just mark my scissors at whatever depth I want to do it. So it'll be marked right on top here. So that way when I cut, every time I cut, it's gonna be right to that distance, okay? So that's the other option with cutting. So when I come up here, I'm always cutting to the same depth. It's just using the scissors as a guide. Number 5, can I do a 180 fold with the combi? So a combi fold consists of a fold where you have the top and the bottom are just folds. So here is a pattern that I did as a combi, and on the pattern itself you'll see the first and the last are folds, and in between are cut points. So if I have this as a fold and then my other point here is a fold, now obviously this is not marked for anything, I'm just showing you the image of it, and then I'll use the scissors. So this I did the 180. I folded this back, and then you would have these folded here. Now, can you do this? You can. What's gonna happen is this here, after you do, 400 pages of it, this is gonna be multiplied by 4, because you basically have this as a page, this as a page, then you've got it again here, and then one more time on this side. So this is gonna end up being super bulky here, especially if your pages are thicker. So I don't recommend doing a 180 fold with a combi unless you're gonna sit there and do this, where you're gonna cut this off on each one. And I would not be one to do, see, if you do that, then you can have your 180 fold for it, but that's going to be a lot of pages to cut on both ends to trim this off at an angle. I'd much rather just do another design than go through that for one, just to have a 180 fold on it. So I don't recommend it. Number 6, how can I create a pattern? There are various pattern maker softwares out there. I use a Bukami software, and I basically upload an image, and most of the images, or unless I'm designing something in a software, but the images I generally purchase from Etsy, and then I upload them into Bukami and create the pattern based on what kind of pattern you want to make, whether it's a combi pattern, whether it's a cut and fold. You can specify the number of pages, your book height, and then it will create this pattern for you. So that's what I use for it. There is, I'll link the Facebook group below, another Facebook group that has a pattern maker in it, and you can certainly use that. That works as well. It's really up to you what you start with. I just happen to start with Bukami, and it works well for me. But again, pattern maker is another one, and I have links for both in the description box. Number 7, how can I color the design if I have a measure, mark, and fold? So your measure, mark, and fold is, let's do one page here. It's just measure, mark, and fold is your top and bottom. So that's all you have. Okay, there are no cuts to do. It's just gonna be this piece. I always use a Sharpie when it's a measure, mark, and fold pattern. The reason is you can't do cardstock, like the 180 folds you'll see patterns done with cardstock. With this, you can't do it because you see this edge. If you do, it might create a different interesting look to it, but then what you're gonna have to do is cut all your cardstock at the same exact angle here at 45 degrees, and then glue it into place here. I think it's just much faster to do a Sharpie, so for something like that I always use a Sharpie. The other option is to use washi tape, and for that you would just cut the washi tape, same color, single color, not this striped one, but you would have to cut the washi tape exactly to the length that you need in here, make sure it's the same, cut it, and then you make sure that it's not stuck to the other pages, and then fold it over. So again, it's gonna be a lot more work, but this is certainly an option to do it with. You're not gonna see the color as well as you do if you're coloring this with a Sharpie, and it's gonna be much faster. Sharpie is my recommendation. Number 8, what is the best ruler to create book folds? When I first started doing book folding, I used this type of ruler, and nothing wrong with it, works perfectly fine. It's got the millimeter markings, which is what you need for this. I always had to make sure that the ruler was flush here. You can attach something to it to make sure you have like a T-ruler, or get a T-ruler already so that it holds it in place, and then just take your pencil and mark it wherever the pattern requires. After a bunch of books, I came across an Incra ruler, and what I totally love about this, and have not even looked back at that one, is that it has little holes along the way here, along the top, so you can place this. It's got the T ruler, and it's super easy to just go, you know, if it's 6.6, you've got 6.6, stick the pencil in, and you've got your marking. So for this, you have to use a 0.5 pencil because otherwise it doesn't fit through the little holes there. This is a lot more expensive than your basic ruler, so definitely not necessary, but for me, it's just a nice saver, and I just love using. There are other brands of this, so you don't have to get the Incra ruler. There are other brands, again, I don't know what they are, so you can look around and see options, but I like the fact that it has the little holes. And I am working on a project at the moment where I'm marking this, so be sure to subscribe to the channel so that you can see the upcoming video that I have where I do a pattern at the top of the book. Number 9, when you have a pattern and it has the same measurements, what do? So for example, in this pattern here, let's say if this was 6.2 and then 6.2 again. Now when I make my patterns, I edit the pattern so that to make sure that there are no duplicate numbers in the same line. But you may purchase a pattern online that's gonna have identical numbers. What do you do with them? I always increase one of the numbers up or one of the numbers down. You can mark that page and then go back to it later once you've done the whole book and see what makes sense. I just find that it generally, you know, moving everything up by one number works for me. But if you want to mark the page and just go back to it to see what works better for the design, you can certainly do that. So I always, but in Bookami, I always go in, you have the option to go in and edit all these to make sure that the numbers are not duplicated. And then lastly, number 10, what do you do with books that have pictures in them? So this book itself, this book does not have pictures. It's just this map, which is the same as the rest of the pages, so that's not gonna matter. But if you have a book that has a shiny page, you would have to remove that out completely, or you'd see it in your pattern. If you have 5 or 6 pages that are with images, with pictures on it, that would not work because it's just going to create a gap in here when you remove a whole bunch of thicker pages out of it. So I would not use a book that has all those pictures. If it's one, you can remove it. If it's a picture on a page, regular page like this, and it's just a picture and it's on the inside, as long as it's not visible on the edge once you fold it, that should work too. So hopefully that helped with your book folding project. Again, if you have any other questions, please comment below. I can certainly make another video covering 10 more frequently asked questions. So it'll be 20 frequently asked questions. But yeah, don't hesitate to ask questions. Join my Facebook group. You can grab the patterns that I already listed. You know, that I have about 5 patterns in there, or books that I've done recently, and then the videos to make those books are on the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you at the next video. Be sure to check out the channel for all the various book folding tutorials. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.